just a quick how-to on filling, sanding and rescrying for James Duval. Right, well this is take 2 actually, the last one was too long so I need to cut it down. Right, to start with, some tape, some masking tape or whatever for the filling. What I do, get some tape, either side of where you want to fill, okay, for seam lines and what have you. Seam lines or, you know, wherever there's a step. And the 2 fillers I use are a multi-put. Sorry, yes, it's upside down. Multi-put, which is the 2-part one. Okay. And basically mix it together until it's all the same colour, and put it where you want it to fill. Now this is good for smaller seam lines or smaller gaps, because you can wet your finger, rub it along it, and then, you know, it takes most of it off, so it shouldn't need a lot of sanding. The next one is Humbrol model filler. And all I do is with little glue application stick or whatever you want to call it, that you probably all used when you were a kid, with a tube of filler in just the right little bit, and then apply it in between the tape. And then once it's applied all the way along, I scrape the excess off. Okay? So that is filler. That's one side. Next, on to sanding. Right, what I tend to do, if it requires a lot of sanding, I've got quite a few different bits of sanding paper and what have you that I've just basically picked up from B&Q or what have you. First off, I start with bog standard wet and dry. Ones I get come in 120, 180 and 400 grit. Okay, so obviously start with your lowest, 120, go to the 180, go to the 400. If it just needs a little bit of sanding, I tend to just use it dry while I'm sat here. If it needs a lot, I take it into the sink and use it wet. Very good stuff. Right, so once that's out of the way, well, actually before I get to the 400, I use this on finishing paper, but this is 320 grit. This is not wet and dry, and this, like it says, it's just finishing. It gives it a smoother texture, getting it ready for the 400. Alright. After that, I've got Tamiya sanding paper, and this comes in 3 grits: 400, 600 and 1000. Again, every single stage, slowly getting smoother and smoother and smoother. In that, I do have some 800 wet and dry. I can't remember where I got this from, probably somewhere like B&Q, but it's really fine. So once I've got down to that stage, I've got down to 1000, you're nearly ready for primer. But what I do after that, to give myself a better finish, is use these. Pack of 4 for £1 from Pound Shop or Home Bargains or somewhere like that. And as it says, it's got 4 sides: file, removes ridges, buff and shine, and polish and shine. Also, this is getting down to the final stages now, so you'll be ready. Once you've done this, you'll be ready for primer. So just a quick go on each side, following the numbers until you get down. You should then get down to a really smooth, nice finish. And just to finish it off, another little sanding stick, again from Home Bargains or whatever. This one's a 4-sided one, so you can use those 2 for rougher if you want. But then I use the white and the grey, and that'll give you a nice gloss shine. Right, if you do get some rougher places that need a lot more sanding down, you can use a metal file, but that could take too much off. What I tend to use, again, Poundland, Home Bargains, pack of 10 cheap nail files. You've got the 2 sides, obviously, so you've got the rough side and the thing, and just get it going over that before you start the sanding, so you don't have to use the high grit sandpaper. And then you've got, again, the same thing, but all I've done is cut it down, make it a little bit smaller, and a little bit thinner for getting into those hard to reach places. Alright, so that for me is sanding. Priming. I use this. Yeah, you can get Humboldt. I don't know how much they are, but I think they're in smaller tins. But I tend to use this. I think this was about £7 from Halfords. Halfords Grey Primer. Gives you a good finish, nice smooth finish and what have you. This is mainly to have a look at your seam lines. You put it on, have a look at your seam lines, have a look see if there's anywhere that needs re-going over, like let's say down the centre spine of the aircraft. Still a little bit of a seam line. Again, go through it again. Filler, sand, finishing sand and what have you. And that should hopefully get rid of your seam lines. Next, rescribing. These are the tools I use. 2 old darning needles and a needle in a pin vise. Okay, you see that? You can use a pin in a pin vise or whatever. Now, I tend to start with that, then move maybe onto these two, depending on how deep it goes. Be careful, once you've done that with the needles and what have you, you'll need to sand it down again. Right, for the straight lines for the rescribing, there are a couple of ways to do it. If it's on a flat surface like on the Mirage, the wings, did them before I stuck it all together, you can use a metal ruler. Again, it's not very bendable unless you get the smaller ones, they're more bendy. Or I use this. It's just, a draftman's tool or whatever. It's quite bendy, so it'll go over the fuselage quite nicely. The next is dynamo tape. Now I picked this up for, I think it was 3 rolls for about £7 from Staples. So it's easy enough to find. And what I tend to use is Tamiya tape, put it over right next to the line where I want it to go. Then with the Tamiya tape, I cut length off, cut it in half, and then I've got 2 uses out of 1 strip. With using Tamiya tape next to it, you extend the life of your dynamo tape for that application. With just the dynamo tape, you'll find the stickiness goes off after about 2, maybe 3 uses. Take it off and reapply it. With the Tamiya tape, you increase that up to about 6 uses. So again, it's making it go further, so it's not costing us as much money. Yeah, and that is good for going over the fuselage or even doing straight lines if you want to do. And the way I cut it to make sure I get 2 straight sides is I cut it up, where I put a little kink in it, so then I know which is the straight side and which is the bent side. Okay. I have just recently bought a Tamiya P cutter, and again this is exactly the same as with all these tools I've shown you for rescribing. I mean, you might have your own way of doing it. Some people use the back end of a hobby knife, not the blade end but the other end, and all you do is just gently with the weight of the tool, you just scrape it over, whether it be with these, just gently, or with these. Just gently let the weight of the tool do the work. Don't press down hard. Go one way and then the other. 2 or 3 passes, have a look, maybe another 2 or 3 passes. It's up to you. It's however deep you want to get it. But obviously once you've rescribed, like I said before, you will need to resand, because where your panel lines are, they go like that and up and in. Alright, so up and in. So it's like 2 little ridges like that where you've pushed the plastic out. So you need to sand them flat again. What I do, once I've sanded it flat, I've got an old toothbrush that's been disinfected and what have you, that I use for washing the aircraft down after sanding it, and that'll get in, should get into all your nicks and what have you. James, I noticed you said on your Harrier you got some filler that have gone into some of the panel lines. That, my friend, is probably your best bet. Okay, because that should just go in, and because it's where it's sanded, it should be just it's a lot easier. It's powder, isn't it, or what have you? So you just scrape that out. But a word of warning: filler is a lot softer than plastic, so you might get a deeper indentation where you've filled, where you're rescribing. I know that was just a quick overview. The last video was a good 7 minutes longer, but I couldn't fit it on. It wouldn't let me upload it to YouTube. So I've quickly raced through this. Any other question, James? Please do not hesitate to ask, and I will try and get back to you. If I know it, I'll try and get back to you. If I don't know it, I will try and find out, or I will point you in the right direction. Another tip, mate: get yourself onto International Scale Modeler. There'll be a link down in the description. Have a look on there. Hints, tips. Whenever any of us do any builds, we try and put as much information on there. My last two builds for the World War II group build and the Cold War group build, I've had to do a bit of filling and sanding, and it's in pictures on there, on the Tempest and the Mirage. The World War II one's in the GB archive, and the Cold War one is ongoing. So hopefully I'm going to get some work done on this. So like I said, James, I hope I've answered some questions for you and helped you out. If I haven't, just ignore it. Like my wife does and my kids do, just ignore me. Alright, so I will see you on my next video, which I don't know where it'll be, probably sometime this week. Anyway, ta-ra for now. Ta-ra!